So in Harris County, Texas, the first general step of any divorce, and it's the step of any divorce anywhere, you're going to have to initiate the case. Someone's going to have to start the case. So the person who's filing will be called the petitioner, and they file the petition, which is their charges and their request for the divorce. And once that's filed with the court, then that goes out for service so that the other party gets notice of that. And there's all sorts of special rules wrapped around service, how we get that notice over to the other person. That's the first thing that has to be done in any divorce. The second step of any divorce in Texas is going to be the response to the lawsuit. So you're the respondent, and you've been served with this lawsuit. You were just sitting happy at home, got a knock on the door, and you got handed papers, and now you're facing a divorce. So you have to answer that charge in the court. So the filing of an answer is the denial of the lawsuit, and you may want to file your own counter-petition. You may decide that you want to petition the court for a divorce, or you may have other charges to counter back with, like, okay, well, they want a divorce. Well, I want a divorce too, and I want you to reimburse the community for all the money you took out to go spend on your separate property. That would be a counter-petition, counter charges. The third step of any divorce in Texas is going to be some sort of a meeting of the minds between the two sides. So the case has been filed, it's been answered and responded to, charges were denied, maybe a counter petition was filed, and now the two sides are going to communicate with each other somehow to discuss the case and what might be needed to go forward. And it's at this stage that we would try to reach some agreements on moving things forward. Agreements such as what documents we want to exchange, maybe setting out some basic rules, some temporary injunctions that nobody does bad things. Maybe we agree on mediation, what we're going to do with the next steps. But there's got to be some kind of a meeting of the minds on how we go forward. And sometimes you check that box off when you realize there's not going to be any meeting of the minds, and we're going to have to litigate this thing. So step 4 of most divorces in Texas is the exchanges of documents and information. So you've got a petitioner and you've got a respondent, a husband and wife couple. And presumably they know most things about each other's finances, kids' records, if there's children involved, anything that would be informational to the divorce. This is information that the two sides will exchange. In what I call step 4, it's a voluntary exchange. Nobody's sent a formal tool of the court to ask for the information. We're just going to exchange information so that we can move the case forward. Step 5 of the average divorce case, especially involving children, would be to get temporary orders in place. And that would be done through a mediation first. So step 5 is a temporary orders mediation. And that's where the two sides would go submit their case to a mediator. Each side would present their arguments. The mediator would work with each side and help them reach some kind of an agreement going forward for temporary orders. And that is going to just set the rules of the road in place for how we're going to proceed with the rest of the divorce. If there's kids, we'll set some kid rules out for custody and support of the kids. If there's property, we're going to set out rules for who gets to use the property and has to pay for it while we're working through the divorce, etc. Step 6 of the average divorce in Harris County, Texas, is to go down to the courthouse and have a temporary orders hearing. And this is in the event that your temporary orders mediation either completely failed or you were only partially successful in reaching some agreements. If there's still any controversies out there on how we're going to work through the divorce till we get to final, that would be resolved in the courtroom in front of the judge. Step 7 of the average divorce would be formal discovery. So if the two sides were not able to reach an agreement on the exchange of information, or if that went okay but more information's wanted, or one of the sides thinks the other side is stalling or hiding things, we use formal discovery. And these are formal requests for information, documents, you have to answer questions, etc. Different ways to get information from the other side so that we can prepare our case for final trial. So step 8 of the average divorce in Houston, Texas, is to go to a final mediation. So this is a mediation for final orders. The mediator doesn't have any authority with the court other than if the mediator signs your agreement, then the court has to follow that agreement. So in a final orders mediation, the two sides would submit their case to a mediator. Each side will present their facts, and the mediator will communicate with each side and try to help them come up with novel solutions to solve the whole divorce and avoid the inside of the courtroom. Step 9 of the average divorce in Harris County, Texas, is to go to a final trial. This is the ultimate end of a case. If you were not able to solve your case through mediation and agreements and just work through the problems, then you want to put the case in front of the judge and let the judge make the decisions. So the judge would make the final decisions on child custody and support issues, division of property, any spousal support issues, any offsetting claims on property value, reimbursement, that sort of thing. The judge would resolve all issues in the divorce at final trial when it comes to that. The 10th step and the final step of divorce in Harris County, Texas, is the entry of final orders. So whether you've been to mediation to solve the divorce and get to final orders, or whether you had to go to court and have the judge make a ruling, the judge is going to say to give you an entry date for the finalization of the orders. Once the judge issues an oral rendition, then that needs to be typed into a final order, submitted to the judge to sign, and any ancillary documents need to go to the judge as well. In Texas, when you get divorced, you have to file some support documents to inform state agencies of child support, that there's actually a divorce, that sort of thing. You also may have to exchange documents with each other. If one party is getting a house, there may be some real estate transfer documents, there may be some power of attorney documents with cars, etc. That would all be done in the final stage of a divorce.